Hey everyone. So this is a special episode. It is quickly edited because I didn't have much time to do much edits. There's no music either for the same reasons. So I guess you all know what we're going to talk about anyway. It's about the blast that happened in Beirut 3 days ago. And I want to talk to Lina Mounzer because I had a conversation with her 3 months ago and I felt that she would be the best person to talk to about this. She was in Beirut when it happened. I am not. I am currently in Switzerland. So I really wanted to have someone who was there to talk about this. You won't learn much necessarily from this episode in terms of like facts and journalism and all of that. I wouldn't say that was our top priority just because, well, there's already quite a lot of that out there. I will post some links on the blog post, on the associated blog post, which you can find on the website. By the time you're listening to this, it will be up on like further reads and like how to inform yourself, as well as like links to help and donate. We don't even know how many people are dead. We know it's something like over 140 or something like this by the time this is recorded, but it is widely believed to increase, and there's quite a lot of fatalities that may never be accounted for because, well, long story short, not everyone is going to go to the hospitals. Not everyone is going to even have the time slash opportunity or ability to get the care they need because we've been already dealing with a pandemic, COVID-19, of course, and the downward economic crisis that have really been paralyzing the country to a pretty bad level, to pretty bad levels even before the explosion. So there's very little words that I can use. I'm very bad at describing these things in the first place. To say that this feels like adding insult to injury would be sort of accurate but inadequate. There's just It's very difficult to use the correct words, and I don't think there are any correct words. It's a mixture of, the only thing I can tell you is that it's a mixture of heartbreak and like complete unadulterated rage and anger at this political establishment in Lebanon. I expect that we'll be seeing much more to come on the political side, in the sense of people protesting, and there's already been a few, especially since yesterday. But for now, this is not what we'll be talking about. We're just talking about Lina's experience, um, experiencing this, her living through it as someone who lives in Beirut. And that's really it. There won't be any other episodes for August. There was like half a dozen or like 8 or 9 planned for August, but I think you'll understand when I tell you that I don't have much time right now to do them. So I'm postponing them for now to September. The planned guests for August have been kind enough to accept to be postponed to September. And on my side, I'll just take it from there in September. I don't know if I'll do any other episodes for August. I'll see. If I will, it will only be on Lebanon. It will only be on the Beirut explosion. Maybe I speak to someone else who was there or something. I don't know. We'll see. But as of now, this will be the only episode of August. So thank you for your time. I won't ask for any donations or anything like this. You already know how it works by now. But really, my priority right now is just to get as many donations as possible to the various groups and activist group and NGOs and whatnot that are working on this, especially when it comes to immediate aid, because that's what we need right now. But there will be quite a lot of long-term work to be done as well, which I think we cannot rely on the so-called international community to do for various reasons, which maybe we'll get into at some other point. But in any case, thank you for listening. I hope you share this. And if you are listening to this from Beirut, know that I'm thinking about you quite a lot. I have no choice. My entire family is there. And I won't say things like we'll get through this. I won't say things like tomorrow is a better day. I can't make any of these promises because we just don't know. We don't even know if this political establishment is going to be held accountable. That is really up to us in the end, and I know that we are fucking exhausted. So that's all I say. That's all I'll say for now. For more information, as I said, there will be more stuff on the associated blog post. If you want to find out about what's been going on as well, I will try my best to continue to update on the Twitter account, which you can find at Joey Ayub. That's just my first and last name on Twitter. And yeah, thank you for listening. Tab, let's just start with you introducing yourself, if that's okay. We'll take it from there.
Sure. My name is Lina Mounzer, and I am a writer and translator.
Lina, I mean, most people, I mean, I think everyone already knows what we're going to talk about now. So let me start with a very stupid and subjective question. How are you?
I'm not good. I'm not good. I don't think I'm coping very well, but I don't know anybody who's coping very well. It's, yeah, I think the first day I was in complete shock. The second day I woke up crying. Yesterday I was kind of numb. I think because I went to Jamaise and Maram Khayl and like parts of Ashrafiyeh. I was just really numb. All day actually yesterday. Yesterday I think yesterday was the first day I think that I like properly ventured out of the house. So I walked the dog in my neighborhood and there was just like so much glass underfoot, and just the sound of cleaning glass has been kind of like the background sound for ever since actually. It happened, and there was just so much glass. I was like, it was a very bad idea to walk the dog. She just, she just needs to pee and poo and go home now for the next. And there's like, it's very precarious. There's like glass that's sort of hanging out half out of the windows, and you have to cross the street back and forth. But I mean, the destruction over there, like near the port area, is just unbelievable. It's, I thought my neighborhood was harder hit, but harder hit, just relatively. I'm realizing that it's like a very slow, it's almost like my brain is very slowly absorbing information, and I'm starting to realize like how incredibly massive it is. The thing is, like, we live in Batraqiye and we have a clear line of sight to the port. يعني ما في شيء بيناتنا. Sorry, I'll speak in English. There's nothing between our building and the port. And now I was just looking. Somebody did like what's it called? Hala, I just saw it on Twitter. It's they did like a resonance imaging or something of the blast that shows you the shockwave. And apparently, it's like a blast analysis of the explosion, and the blast was asymmetrical. Apparently, like it went much more like towards the east and south because of the grain silo, which exploded. And so like it shielded basically like towards us, more or less shielded. The building in front of ours, it's totally devastated. I mean, again, no, I use that. It's not like Jamaise Maram Khail. It's not, it's just like everything is blown out and there's like balcony railings twisted out of shape. And, I don't know, I guess like the shockwaves, the way that it's like you can't, you don't know how they're going to be absorbed. And hatta with us, there's like floors that are not our building, the building across from us. Like there's certain floors that are, the ceiling came down, and other floors that like nothing broke. And yeah, it's like, hey, I'm thinking about it in terms of like, the way the shock waves hit, it's almost like with people, you don't know how it's going to affect, and you don't know how, like some things might look unscathed, and then the rest are like shattered. And anyway, so yeah, no, I'm not good at all. I think every day is a new feeling. I haven't really been able to sleep, and I'm not a person who has trouble sleeping. Like that's not how my stress translates itself in my body. usually. And so I just like every night I can't, tear myself away. So last night I like went to bed, I think at 1:30, and I'm like, okay, it's relatively early and I'm going to sleep. And I woke up at 5, like gasping. And, my heart was pounding so hard. And then I was like, okay, khalas, like I just need to sleep again, close my eyes. And I closed my eyes and I just had the most horrific images. And it was like later when I thought about it, I'm like, it's like those stupid American movies, like,
Mm-hmm.
with like the Vietnam vets, when they want to try and show you trauma, they show you like these cut scenes of like horrible things.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I always thought that was so stupid because it's kind of stupid. And no, it's not like this is my first rodeo.
Yeah.
Uh, but I mean, obviously, it is like nothing of this scale has ever happened to us. It's like, no, I mean, everybody who's, a certain age here has lived through like more than one war and more than one explosion. And everybody is like, this is not, I can't, I just can't, yeah. It's the sound of it. It just keeps coming back to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how to describe it. And I feel like I'll never have the words to describe it. And as a result, it's just going to stay trapped in my body forever.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to do about that,
I mean, I heard the sound via video. Obviously, I'm not in Lebanon, so I wouldn't be able to describe it either. You was talking about like heart pounding and everything, and so the reason why I have this number, my memory works with numbers. I don't know why. It's very visual and very numeric.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that the blast happened at exactly 6:08:18.
Mm-hmm.
8, you have the 888, so it's easy to remember. But B, you had a number of people who posted it on Twitter. They have those Fitbits, the things that monitor your heart rate or whatever. And there was a spike at exactly 6:08. And that's
Mm-hmm.
very easy to remember after that. And besides that, like it's been three days. Just now before talking to you, we postponed by like half an hour. So I had a bit of time and I started reading some of the news outlets, which is the first time I do. I didn't do it in the past 3 days. I was too busy just updating on that Twitter thread and stuff. And obviously talking to friends and family and just kind of taking it all in. I had a Skype call with friends yesterday night, and because they were there in Beirut and they were not able to sleep, and the same the night before, so the night of the explosion. And I don't know, it's very difficult to say much. That's the thing. I haven't written anything. I know that you've written one for the New York Times piece, which I will link as well.
Mm-hmm.
I've been completely unable. Like last time we spoke, I told you I was unable to write, and now it's just completely worse. Um, there is a surreal element to it. There is even something surreal. Like I have the Wikipedia page in front of me, and I'm just going to read like the first, the summary at the beginning for those who actually may not know exactly what we're talking about, although I think probably everyone knows. On the evening of 4th of August 2020, a series of explosions occurred in the city of Beirut, the capital of Lebanon. The extremely powerful blast at the port of Beirut, which was preceded by a fire, left at least 157 people dead, and that's obviously the latest update, at least 80 more missing, and more than 5,000 injured. Beirut governor Marwan Aboud estimated that up to 300,000 people were left homeless by the explosion. The government declared a 2-week state of emergency. And then they explained what it was exactly. So the explosion was linked to about 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate, equivalent to around 1,155 tons of TNT. Not a chemist, but this doesn't look good. That had been confiscated by the government from the abandoned ship MV Rosus. And this Rosus thing is some very shady Moldovan flagged cargo ship that was owned by this Russian businessman who was arrested like 20 minutes before we started talking, apparently in Cyprus. I saw it now. With ammonium nitrate fertilizer. And so I just end up continuing reading and whatnot. Oh, property damage, $10-15 billion, displaced up to 300,000. There's a type to this kind of disaster. It's called an ammonium nitrate disaster. And there's a whole Wikipedia page about it. And it's all surreal. It's like for the past 3 days, it's all been just like pure emotions. I'm cognitive distancing as fuck from here in Geneva. When it happened, I was waiting for a delivery, like a mattress delivery, because we're moving to a new place in Geneva, and my friend just texted me, say like open the news, which means open Twitter. There's a blast in Beirut, and like what there's a blast in Beirut, as you said. This would not be the first one if it was just a blast in Beirut. And in my mind, it's like, okay, well, this is obviously bad. Let's find out what happened. I thought maybe it's political. There is the tribunal thing coming out. There is the, I don't know, between Israel and Hezbollah in Syria and in the south. And that I thought maybe it's something like that. And then I saw the videos and I was like, fuck, this is beyond it. I wasn't even considering this as a worst scenario. It wasn't even in my top 10 list of worst scenarios. And I have a top 10 list of worst scenarios. And my sister's in-laws were completely blown away. Their flat is in Ashrafiyya. It was completely destroyed. One of them, I think, is still at the hospital. The father had stitches. The grandmother, they put at the hospital just as a precaution, I think. And the mother, I think, is still at the hospital. I didn't get updates today. And everyone else is... everyone that I am in Beirut has something, like some cuts, something to like different extent of severity. Some had to be hospitalized. Some had quick stitches by the Red Cross or any of those, those guys. Other than that, I've been compartmentalizing for the most part in the past 72 hours. Obviously easier to do given that I'm not in Lebanon. It's more like my main thing is cognitive dissonance, until I spoke with some friends, many friends, who are basically saying that even they are experiencing cognitive dissonance while being there. And that's the difficult to explain part. Like the summary of Wikipedia that I just mentioned, I mean, it means nothing to me. Like, I don't know. Then I'm obviously invested in knowing how many people died and were injured, but that's about it. I don't, Beirut governor, what he said, I don't care what the other governments have said and the reactions of the international community and whatever. None of this shit matters. It's all been completely surreal. Sorry. I've been having obviously difficulty reacting to it. What really hit yesterday was or was it 2 days ago? I don't even know. Like the photo of the firefighters of Beirut being all dead. And the second thing is like there's that photo of them going to the thing. And the second thing that really hit is my mother's stained glass. My mom has a stained glass workshop. She did a lot of the destroyed photos are my mom's doings, which is very, very weird to see. Of the stained glasses in the churches and museum and that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I don't even know what to say, to be honest. I don't expect. We know that this is going to get worse in terms of injuries and fatalities. I don't think anyone is in denial about this, and that's like with COVID-19 taken into account, obviously. Or the immediate relief probably, I mean, obviously helps, I guess. I'm not saying it makes no difference. Of course, we need immediate relief and aid and shit. I just wonder how long they're going to keep coming in and how long the media attention is going to stay on this, because usually the attention span is pretty short. So yeah, that's been roughly my past 72 hours or so. I'm wondering. Well, I don't even. Have you? So you mentioned that you tried to go down. I have some friends who. So basically, my news is just my friends updating me for the most part. Some of them who live in like Babda or in like surrounding Beirut, basically are going down to Beirut to help with the cleanups and that kind of thing. And obviously, that's a good thing. But I'm also hearing quite a lot of people who kind of go there but then don't stay long, or they go there but then they're just exhausted within half an hour, or there was one account on Twitter of someone who went there to try and clean, and he cleaned for like half an hour and then he was exhausted and ended up for 4 hours transfixed looking at the destroyed part, which is I mean, I can only guess is quite surreal thing to see. How have you like to the best of your ability, how can you describe your past 72 hours, including, because you did manage to write an article, which is very good and very important.
My last 72 hours. Let's see. I don't have a coherent narrative for them, frankly. I don't. Every day, like I said, is a new feeling. Obviously, right after it happened, is just you're frantically trying to reach everybody and to make sure they're okay. You know, just like after every fucking explosion that we've had here. I really didn't know how big it was. I had no fucking idea. I had no idea. Yesterday, a friend and I were sort of updating each other. We hadn't spoken until right after. She lives in the building right in front of me that I was saying had been utterly destroyed, like the photos of her apartment. Anyway, luckily, you know, she and her young son were not in the house. I mean, otherwise, I don't know. Anyway, so I saw that we had exchanged text messages and voice messages, and I had no memory of it. And I listened to myself just talking to her, like, you know, I guess about 12 minutes after the blast. And it's kind of unrecognizable to me. It's, you know, to hear my voice that way, and just sort of kind of hysterical, and just in the sense of like we were this is, you know, like that kind of, and then just sort of tapering off because it's like just out of words, you know. Anyway, so the first night, and then the next day I was very sad. It was the first day that I was able to cry, but I was like basically crying off and on all day. And then yesterday, I don't know. I really don't know. It's like my memory is not working. Oh, the second day, of course, I was writing my article the whole fucking day between like looking at the news, and I usually have the internet off and my phone off when I'm writing, but this was obviously impossible. So it took me forever to finish. And then my editor, who's very generous, was actually in India because he'd been on a reporting trip. So he was even further on in time than I was. So we just stayed up till, you know, sort of back and forthing on edits and stuff, because and then copy it anyway. So I just I was up very, very late and woke up very early. Anyway, I had written an article about the economic crisis that should be out like in the next few days. So I came in, I had to like sort of go through edits and do that. That's also why I postponed a little bit this morning. So to tell you the truth, the work has been very cathartic. Like it gives me something to focus on, and it gives me, I like, this is my coping mechanism, sort of like intellectualizing things and kind of like distilling them into like the very solid container of words, like it's like she solib in a way, like very solid material. That's what it feels like, because otherwise I'm just like a fucking spinning out of control mess, I just everything, like every kind word, every nice reach out, everything, like it just fucking kills me. Yeah, anyway. So I'm just so tired, like I'm very, very tired, and I'm very, very, very angry. Like I'm so angry that I don't even like come in again. Like all of these things, I'm feeling them physically, and I feel like I don't like hick. It's like my body is going to fly apart,
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just fucking enraged. I'm fucking enraged. I cannot believe it, Yani. It's like what we've been made to endure from Sulta Siyasi,
The political class.
well, I don't want to say political class because they're not, it's not, the political class to me refers to, it's like, it's the, all the people at the top, you know, which are these motherfuckers and their cronies and the
Mhm.
people who, you know, lick their boots like higher ups and their security details who are all former militiamen,
Mhm.
basically, that now get to keep their rifles and then be bodyguards and beat the shit out of people if somebody, you know, بيسبلن الزعيم تبعهم. And it's just I'm just so so angry. Everything we've been, yeah, so it's not, you know, it's rather than the political class, it's just, it's this kind, you know, it's this conglomeration of people that have had us in a chokehold, you know, the bankers and the haida and everybody is, you know, in everybody else's pocket essentially. um you know, it's like the Ashur guy who built fucking Eden Bay is like you know, and no, him and Birri are like super tight together, and you know, you insult Birri, you insult him, and vice versa. Like, what do you call these kinds of, you know, I don't even have the word for it. It's not incestuous. Like, it's, what do you call these rotten, corrupt relationships? You know. Anyway, so it's just, but what we've been made to endure at their hands, forget the Civil War, forget it. Forget the last 30 years since then. Forget, you know, the neoliberal project of like crushing every possible social and public program in the city, every infrastructural thing that could have made people's lives easier. Forget that we still don't have fucking electricity since the Civil War. You know, forget the sewages that are overflowing, forget the garbage crises that we've had and the pollution and the araf, okay? Just in the last 6 or 7 months, they stole all of our money, you know, they made us destitute. They stopped allowing us to withdraw dollars while they smuggled $6 billion out of the country. They're
Mhm.
squabbling while the IMF, the fucking IMF now, are trying to put transparency and quote unquote humanitarian measures in place. Okay. They still do not want to get any kind of haircut. And then after all this, they fucking blow us up and they blow up our city out of neglect and greed. I mean, the stories that are coming in, and like every single person is responsible. They all knew about this. It's like, this to me is just beyond appalling. It's beyond appalling. There's no words for it. There's no words for it. And then after all of this, fucking Saad al-Hariri goes down to the poor to have a photo opportunity among the ruins, and then goes to visit his dad, I don't know, to tell him, daddy, they killed Beirut again, as if he's not personally responsible for most of it. And so then there's protesters there, and there's also people who have set up, you know, charity tents,
Mhm.
like to give out aid. These are all over the city, by the way. You know, tables where people are giving out water and bread. And I just, anyway, another sort of kindness that I'm very moved by. And so people are angry. So they kick at his car, and the bodyguards come out and they beat the shit out of people. And then his thugs come by on their motorcycles, you know, the Mustaqbal supporters, because oh my God, how can you insult great master who throws scraps our way, you know? And they essentially broke apart all the tents and upended all the tables and ground the fucking bread into the, you know, into the stones and dirt underfoot. Like, the level of impunity is just, I don't have words for it. Like right now I feel my chest is hurting. I can't breathe properly anymore just even talking about it to you, you know?
Um,
I don't know what to do with all of this anger, and I see this with every, I don't know. Like, all of us are talking about revenge. I ended my article saying that, you know, the amnesty won't be theirs for the taking, but I don't believe that. um I don't believe it. I believe that they are going to get away with this the way that they got away with everything else. Um, and that just makes me so angry, like so angry. You know, we're talking about revenge, um, because it's a way to channel this feeling. But I mean, what revenge, what power do we have to hold them accountable? We don't have any power to hold them accountable. And I mean, the proof of this is that there has been no no solace, no nothing. You go down into the streets, okay, and you see volunteers are cleaning the streets, while the darak and the amn al-aam are just standing around smoking cigarettes, basically blocking roads, redirecting traffic. They're not doing anything. There has been absolutely no help from the state that did this to us to clean up the fucking mess. I just, people are pulling, like regular people, they're pulling bodies out from under the rubble still with their bare hands. It's just, it's beyond appalling. I don't,
The question of like how this will translate itself politically. I mean, when I say politically, I mean in terms of like protesters, how people on the streets will react. We've already been seeing, as you mentioned, the person who kicked Hariri's stupid car or whatever, and we saw Taimour Azhari, the journalist. He called out Nabih Berri, or at least asked him in a journalistic way, like whatever Dawlat al-Rais, many people want you to resign or something like this. And obviously Nabih Berri continued walking. And from that video, because again, as I said, I'm not there, so it's all videos and photos for me. You can see the side eye of that security guard looking at Taimour, kind of like, how do you dare say something like this? And
step out of line, and just one more step out of line and you're going to be made to pay for this.
Exactly. And I mean, Taimour knows this, of course, and I think he knows that as a journalist he's only able to get away with so much, and there are limits, and he's obviously very aware of this as well. But it is really that. I mean, the Macron visit to Gemmayzeh, for me, like the main story isn't even that Macron was there or that there are these things that he said they're going to do, whatever. I mean, for me, I'm just going to wait and see what happens before saying anything, because I think it's pointless now. But other than the spectacle and everything around it, for me, it says so much that like Michel Aoun and Nabih Berri and Jabroun Bassil and all of these guys, like no way would they be able to walk through Gemmayzeh. There's no chance that they would be able to walk through there unharmed. Like there would be.
No, of course they will not be able to walk down there. Of course, they will be torn apart limb from limb.
Yeah.
But this is it. I mean, why did they build all of those walls around Parliament? They put concrete blaster walls. They set up gates, around certain areas in downtown. Even now, a couple of weeks ago, I needed to go withdraw money from the one fucking, like I had been paid for a thing. And from the one ATM, or like one of 3 ATMs in the whole city, that gives out dollars, which is always empty, by the way, also. And so I wanted to walk down Parliament Hill, because it's kind of a straight shot from my house down there to Aswat Beirut, from like up the hill. Anyway, so and it was, it was closed, and I had to do this like huge loop and walk through Riyadh al-Sulh, which has concrete blast walls. Like they've just walled themselves off, because that's the thing, is like we shout and we cry and we do this, and they're just like, it's like somebody putting their hands in their ears and going like, I can't hear you. They just build walls, and that's it.
That's why.
How do you expect these people to be held accountable? I mean,
I don't. That's why, like, there was a number of people who were asking me on Twitter, like, how can, I think they were talking about Nabih Berri and Michel Aoun, specifically the two main figureheads right now. Not that they're the only figureheads, obviously. Like, how can they look at these footage and these videos and stuff like this and not feel anything? And I responded, I don't know if they're watching these videos. Like, you have no evidence that they're watching these videos. They definitely felt it. They were close enough. But that doesn't mean that they are sitting like I've been sitting for the past 48 hours or whatever, just scrolling down Twitter and seeing what everyone has been reacting and the names of the dead at the poor and this worker and that nurse and this. It's not that. That's not like it's honestly. I genuinely believe that it's more similar to like a Trump-like scenario where you have some of his minders around him showing him certain things and not showing him everything. Minus the Twitter part, obviously, because the Mihbir and Michelin don't know how to use Twitter. But the level of anger that I've seen is something that even honestly friends of mine that I know are not particularly active in any real meaningful way. I mean, they've participated in protests because they felt it was their duty and everything. So I guess they are sort of quote unquote political. But I've seen things that, I've been hearing things from people that I really didn't think would be possible. And even as I say this, I realized that like, I've said this before, like I've said this in the interviews I've given in like October and November, and then the guests I've had since March on the podcast, who like, I think you as well and others, like talking about Lebanon, like, this is different, this is different, this is different. We've mentioned this so many times that I don't actually know whether to just kind of pause myself or just take a step back and wonder, like, is it different? Is it different? Is it different? Because on the one hand, it is inevitably different in the sense that the scale of this is on something that is really very difficult to compare it to anything. It's being compared to Chernobyl, and there are excellent articles about this making the case as to why that is. I know some people have compared it to Nagasaki and Hiroshima, although I don't think the comparison is quite good on that front. But like, comparisons are always bad in any case. Like, it's not like there's a perfect comparison. But the Chernobyl comparison, what's salient about it is that Chernobyl, its impact, it's the disaster, the levels of it could have been prevented. Like, there are certain things that could have been done to have actually prevented the level, the scale of the loss that followed. And this is why the comparison follows here, because this ammonium nitrate did not have to sit at the port for 6 years. We're now seeing more and more of these investigations popping up, and some journalists doing their job, although the others are not, asking the necessary questions and revealing some documents and whatnot. And we could really, really obviously see that there's blame on so many levels that it's very difficult to just pinpoint and say it's only that person or it's only that person. Which is why, as you mentioned before.
And I have to tell you also, sorry to interrupt,
but what
I want to say is, I mean, knowing what we know from this country, they've like arrested a bunch of people, put them under house arrest, and كشفوا السرية المصرفية, like they've lifted banking secrecy on the accounts of like a bunch of like higher ups at the port.
Yeah.
These are scapegoats.
I agree.
This is what happens with our political class. Anytime somebody is arrested, this is because they've decided, that this is a scapegoat. The way that I imagine it, honestly, is like, again, in like those mafia movies where this sniveling piece of shit walks into the boss's office, and they're like, sorry, I'm going to have to whack you. And they're like, I'm sorry, boss, I didn't mean it. I didn't blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, someone's got to eat lead for this, and it's going to be you. That's how our political system works, because it functions like a mafia, on every level it functions like a mafia. So on this level as well, it functions like a mafia. If anybody is arrested, if anybody is ever held accountable, if anybody goes to jail, it's only because the rest of them, to save their asses, have decided, you know what, these guys are disposable. That's basically it.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, I agree with that. I'm just trying to, and I don't even know what I'm trying to do, to be honest. What I've been doing for the past 72 hours anyway is just trying to put things together in just one thread. This is how I cope. Whether it's healthy or not, I have no idea. But it seems useful. It's getting some information to people who otherwise are getting quite a lot of fake news shit. There's been, unfortunately, a fair amount of these things because Beirut and Lebanon went viral for however many hours the internet's attention span allows.
We got a goddamn like icon next to the hashtag.
Yes, I know. There's a heart. There's a heart with the flag.
It like, it makes my skin crawl. I don't know why it enrages me, but it does enrage me. I know that it's supposed to be like, it just enrages me. Anyway.
Yeah.
Um,
No, same. It for me, it's just it doesn't fit the mood whatsoever because everyone. I mean, I'm using the hashtag when I'm reporting on like this building collapsed or this whatever happened or whatever, and there's just a stupid heart next to it, and it's very weird.
it's not just that, it's this kind of hashtag garbage, okay? Like even with the Me Too movement in a way, but like what it does is it depoliticizes everything. You know, it like reduces it, it flattens it, it turns it into this thing like, oh, haram, the people of Beirut, they are suffering. There are reasons why we are suffering. There are reasons, there are people, there are things that happened. And it's like all of it suddenly gets lost like underneath the vagaries of sympathy. And I'm very grateful to people for their sympathy and their empathy. But at the same time, we need prosecution, we need accountability. Salim Haddad and Taimur also said this on Twitter, both of them. This is a war crime. This needs to be prosecuted, and this needs to be spoken about as a crime against the people by a sulta siyasiyya. This is not an accident. It is not an accident. It is a crime. And people are not allowed to say, Wallah, I don't have responsibility. I was talking to a dear friend of mine this morning because, he's in Oregon, and I just woke up at 5 and I was like, I need to talk to someone. And so I know that he keeps odd hours. Anyway, so I just said, are you awake? And, we spoke to each other, and we both cried on the phone at various different times. I wrote about his dad being buried under the rubble. And, for him, it was like he could have lost his father. Anyway, so yeah, we were talking, and he's a lawyer and he does international law, and he, I mean, obviously it's like you cannot say I'm not responsible because I was ignorant, like that's not a legal defense in any way. It's not a defensible position in any way. You still legally are held accountable, and he was like, there are mechanisms in place that give this a kind of language, that place this crime in a kind of context. And I feel like this is really very important, and I don't want this to be depoliticized, like not on the local level or on the international level, because frankly, we do need, to a certain extent, some kind of international help to be able, to hold them accountable. Not that I believe even in the charades of these kinds of things, but ma barif,
Even symbolically, quote unquote,
even symbolically, yes. How do you take them to court? They need to be dragged to court, and made to answer for this, and not just those fucking Fredo scapegoats,
Yeah.
Don Corleone needs to go to jail. Yeah, that's anyway. Can I just tell you something? I know we're recording,
sure.
But I kind of need to wrap up because I feel like I'm on the verge of a panic attack.
No worries. Let's wrap it up.
Underslept. My fingertips are going numb. I'm just sort of, I need to like maybe like now put on some YouTube videos and watch people make soap. That's kind of I try to relax, I watch like people make soap on YouTube.
No worries. Let's just wrap it up.
I think I need like a couple of hours.
That's fine. Tab, Lina, thanks a lot for your time. Like this, I know this is very difficult and you have other things to do now. Just thank you for sharing this time with me. I will try and add some additional commentary or whatever, some reflections on my own later on, and put them all in like one episode at some point later today.
Thanks, Joey. Like as I told you actually when we were messaging, I'm happy to do this. I've gotten a lot of media requests, and I understand that journalists like want to speak to people, and especially if someone has written about this, they're like, okay, but I'm not in a position to speak to this. Like, I don't consider myself a journalist in any way, shape, or form. And I also feel, which is what I felt during the Thawra as well, that I, like, obviously I write in English, so I'm writing toward or to a foreign audience, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm always writing with, you know, fellow Lebanese people or fellow Arabs in mind as my primary audience. And I think of the foreign readers as people who get to eavesdrop on that, you know. But I always think, like, you know, how would we phrase the things to each other, you know? Um, and like now I feel this more strongly than I've ever felt this before. And I also feel like there's certain things that I only want to say ben bad, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
and so I felt like, you know, when you said, can we have a conversation about this? Like, I didn't, you know, I didn't really hesitate. I wasn't like, oh, you know, I just felt like, okay, yeah, if there's someone I want to talk to, it's someone who understands exactly all of these feelings, and, you know, um, and all
Yeah.
of this anger and all of this sadness and all of this, you know.
Yeah, yeah, same here, same here. I wanted to talk to someone else who knows this, but also someone who's in Lebanon right now to make the contrast as well, for whatever added value that is. But yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's really it. Thank you a lot for your time.
Thank you, Joey. Yalla, have a
Well,
good day.
you too, you too.
I know, what a ridiculous thing to say, right? Sorry,
And
that was me on automatic pilot. Have a, yeah, have a have a forgetful day. What what can I tell you?
just go watch soaps now. It's fine.
I highly recommend, by the way, to everybody or anybody listening, like, soap making videos are incredibly soothing.
I have a
Anyway,
number of cooking channels I watch as well from time to time.
God, I love cooking channels as well, but like I watched so many of them during quarantine and ate so much as a result that, like, I can't, you know. Anyway, yeah.
طيب. Yeah.
All right. Yalla, take care.
Bye.